At 0304 local time, a B-2 stealth bomber, call sign Phantom 21, was 40 minutes out on a deep strike run west of Tehran towards the Karaj missile factory that was pumping out missiles Iran was shooting at U.S. forces. Unknown to the B-2 pilots, a radar that wasn't supposed to exist had already locked their corridor. On the threat display, one emission, UHF band, Chinese origin, the exact wavelength that stealth shaping cannot defeat. 80 miles ahead of the bomber, an EA-18G Growler, call sign Venom 11, caught the emission first. A pulse appeared on the ALQ-218 wideband receiver. Wrong band, wrong frequency, wrong everything. The Wizzo's hands were already moving before the classification populated. Venom 11, new emitter, UHF band, bearing 085, correlates YLC-8B. That call landed cold across every cockpit in the package. 40 miles north, Viper 1's F-22 Raptor, running completely silent, every active system dark, registered the same emission on the AN/ALR-94 passive suite. Over 30 antennas embedded across the Raptor's wings, fuselage and tail, each one tuned to a different frequency slice. Think of it as 30 microcomputers hidden all over a house, each listening for a specific sound. One catches footsteps, another door closing, another a whisper. Put them together and you know exactly where the intruder is without turning on the light. 3 bursts gave a bearing, 5 gave a grid coordinate accurate within 40 meters. Viper 1 passed the fix via Link 16 without breaking radio silence. Now here's why every crew in the formation just earned their pay. The YLC-8B is a Chinese-built ultra-high-frequency radar engineered for one job: finding aircraft like the B-2. Stealth shaping deflects radar energy sideways, but that geometry only works against shorter wavelengths. UHF operates on wavelengths measured in meters. At that scale, the shaping stops working and the B-2's fuselage denounces a detectable echo. The Spirit's radar cross-section, marble-sized on every X-band sensor in the package, was blooming into something the size of a large bird on the UHF feed. A large bird holding a consistent heading at 42,000 feet and at 475 knots. Not a lot of geese cruising at Mach 0.7. The system was pushing in short bursts, 3-second sweeps, then silence. The operators knew continuous transmission was a guaranteed way to catch a HARM missile. It's like a neighbor who mows his lawn at 6 a.m. every Saturday. Everyone knows where he is. Everyone knows what he's doing. Eventually, someone's gonna snap. Except in this case, snapping means a supersonic missile doing Mach 2 in your front yard. Each burst gave the American pilots a snapshot, and somewhere in those snapshots, a ghost was starting to solidify. Inside the Growler, Venom 11's weapons systems officer started building a response. Jamming UHF is not like jamming the X-band radars the crew trains against every week. It's drowning out a marching band parading down your street, not your neighbor's TV through the wall. He needed more power and more time. He was working on both. But the YLC-8B operators could see the American response building on their screens. Nose climbing, the radar picture washing out. They had maybe 30 seconds before something arrived with a warhead at their position. So they transmitted everything they had: bearing, altitude, approximate speed of a contact heading east toward Tehran. The data pushed across Iran's degraded air defense network via fiber optic landlines to every surviving engagement system within 200 kilometers. 90 seconds of total transmission. Then the senior operator turned off the radar. Smart call. About 30 seconds too late. In radar operations school, they probably never cover this. Lesson 1. How to permanently lose your job. Venom 11, Magnum, AGM-88G bearing 085. Magnum is NATO brevity code for one thing: anti-radiation missile off the rail. Not a warning, not a heads up, a status call. The HARM is already supersonic, already climbing, already locked on the YLC-8B's last known emission point. Venom 11 didn't ask permission, didn't wait for clearance. The threat was declared, the shot was valid, and the weapon was gone. That's how a suppression of enemy air defenses mission works. You don't deliberate, you execute. If you look here at the AGM-88G, it's the latest variant of the high-speed anti-radiation missile. The feature that matters right now is its guidance memory. Earlier versions would lose their target if the radar shut down. No emission, no signal to ride. The G model carries GPS and inertial navigation that remember exactly where the antenna was radiating 3 seconds ago. The operator turned off the radar. The HARM already had the address. The warhead detonated, and the YLC-8B, built specifically to find B-2 bombers, became scrap metal in the Iranian countryside. China spent years engineering a system to see through stealth, and the Americans turned it into a debris field in 90 seconds. But those 90 seconds of transmission had already done the one thing that mattered. The radar was scrapped. Its data was invalid, bouncing south through buried fiber optic relays toward the Bavar 373 battery that hadn't transmitted a single pulse since the opening night of the war. At 0306, a fiber optic terminal inside a camouflage Bavar 373 battery 14 kilometers south of Karaj lights up with the first data it's received in 4 days. Bearing, altitude, approximate speed, a contact heading east at 42,000 feet. The battery commander reads the numbers off the screen and understands exactly what they mean. The track is rough and the position could easily be off by miles, but he doesn't need a perfect picture. He just needs a direction to look. This battery has been dark since the night of February 28th when the crew drove the launcher into a ravine in the Alborz foothills and draped camouflage netting over the Mirage 4 radar while the rest of Iran's air defenses got dismantled overhead. 4 days of listening to a war they couldn't join. 4 days of hearing every other Bavar battery in western Iran go silent one by one. The commander made one decision that kept his battery operating through all of it. He would not transmit until he had a target worth trading his battery for. He was staring at that target right now. In 60 seconds, he was going to light a radar and fire the most capable interceptor in Iran's inventory at the best protected aircraft in the American package. His window was brutally narrow. The moment the Mirage 4 lit up, every American sensor within 300 miles started a countdown on a HARM. One shot, one trade. He reaches for the power switch. Full power. Continuous track. Focus sector scan along the bearing the destroyed Chinese radar gave him. What the Bavar commander didn't know, the AGM-88G that eliminated the YLC-8B had already been replaced. Venom 11 was locked and loaded. Inside Phantom 21, the B-2's defensive management system catches the new emission instantly. Fire control quality, bearing 175, 14 kilometers south of Karaj. A red diamond blooms on the mission commander's threat display and the warning tone fills both headsets. Only 21 B-2s exist. Unit cost, $2.1 billion. The most expensive combat aircraft ever built, and a fire control radar in the Iranian highlands had just found it. He knew exactly what had happened. The HARM that destroyed the YLC-8B didn't stop the threat. It triggered it. The radar operators, knowing they had seconds to scram, dumped everything they had into the network. Blowing up the radar was what gave the Bavar battery its shot. New SAM, Bavar 373. He's radiating fire control, going for a shot. 7 minutes to release over Karaj, and the crew had survived China's billion-dollar radar only to get jumped by a battery hiding under a tarp. At least the Chinese system cost a fortune to build and deploy. This one just needed a patient crew and a working phone line. Venom 11 reacted within seconds, swinging the ALQ-249 to the Mirage 4's frequency band. The jammer had to retune and recalibrate from scratch. The Mirage 4 operated on completely different frequencies than the YLC-8B, and building a new noise pattern against an unfamiliar waveform under fire is like trying to tune a guitar to a song you've never heard while your wife is yelling at you to come set the table. You'll get there, but not calmly. 5 seconds to lock the new frequency, 3 more to start pumping noise. What was doing that work? The ALQ-249 Next Generation Jammer, the pod on Venom 11's fuselage you see here, the most powerful airborne electronic attack system in the American inventory. It locks onto an enemy's radar exact transmit frequency and floods it with amplified noise until the signal processor on the other end can't find a real return in the interference. A radar works by sending out a pulse and listening for the echo that bounces back. That echo is your target. Jamming works by flooding the same frequency with so much noise that the echo drowns it. The radio is still sending pulses. The echoes are still coming back. But now there are 10,000 fake echoes for every real one, and the signal processor can't tell the difference. Think of it like your wife calling you for dinner while you're watching the game, except now there are 1,000 women, all named Karen, screaming at you from every direction at the same time. One says dinner is ready now. One says 5 minutes. One says you're already late. One says don't bother, she ate without you. Your brain locks up trying to figure out which one is real. And that's exactly what happens to the Iranian signal processor. It knows a target is out there. It just can't agree with itself on where, when, or whether it already missed it. Meanwhile, the Bavar's concentrated beam found exactly what the cueing data promised: a faint return, barely above the noise floor, consistent with a low observable aircraft at high altitude heading east. Not a clean track, but enough to start refining a firing solution with each passing second. Venom 11, Magnum, 2nd AGM-88G, bearing 175. The HARM screamed off the rail and accelerated toward the Bavar battery. 60 seconds to impact, an eternity when someone has a fire control radar pointed at your bomber. Now the geometry splits into a race that nobody in Phantom 21 can control. From the west, the HARM is closing on the Bavar battery at Mach 2. GPS locked, 60 seconds of flight time, the math's already done. From the south, the Mirage 4's beam tightened its track on Phantom 21 with every sweep, the firing solution sharpening from a 2-mile basket towards something a Sayyad 4 could actually work with. The Growler is locked on one problem: flooding the Mirage 4's illumination beam with noise to keep the firing solution degraded. If the Bavar fires before the HARM arrives, the Sayyad 4 rides whatever quality of reflected signal the Mirage 4 can push through the jamming. A clean illumination beam means tight mid-course guidance, which means the missile arrives in the terminal zone close enough for its own seeker to finish the job. A jammed beam means sloppy guidance, a wider search basket at terminal activation, and a much lower chance the seeker finds anything at all. The Wizzo is watching one number: the Mirage 4's signal strength fighting through his jamming. If it stays degraded, the missile launches on garbage data. If it punches through, the Sayyad 4 gets a clean ride to the neighborhood and the active seeker does the rest. Inside the B-2, the mission commander watches the HARM's time to impact tick down on his display alongside the Bavar's signal strength climbing. 40 seconds. The track is still degraded. 30. The Mirage 4 signal processor is fighting through the noise, building resolution one sweep at a time. 20. The solution crosses the threshold. The Bavar commander fires anyway, the Sayyad 4 off the rail, solid booster punching it through the sound barrier in seconds. The Mirage 4 pumping illumination energy at Phantom 21 to give the climbing missile something to ride. What just left the launcher, the Sayyad 4, roughly 20 feet of Iranian-built interceptor, solid motor, reported engagement range around 300 kilometers. The nose cone houses an active radar seeker, but it's cold right now. During mid-course, the missile doesn't use its own eyes at all. It rides reflected energy from the Mirage 4's illumination beam like a flashlight beam on a mirror, the missile following the reflection. Destroy the flashlight and the missile goes blind until the terminal seeker wakes up for the last few miles. The track is rough. The Growler's jamming is smearing the illumination across a mile-wide basket, but the missile has a sector, an altitude, and a heading. 3 seconds of reflected signal is enough to get it pointed in the right direction. The active seeker in the nose handles the rest, whenever it wakes up. 3 seconds later, the HARM slams into the Mirage 4 radar vehicle, and the battery that survived 4 days by staying silent stops existing. 4 days of patience, one trade. He picked the wrong 60 seconds. The missile is coasting on inertial guidance now, dead reckoning toward where the target was 3 seconds ago. Based on 3 seconds of sloppy mid-course data, the Growler had been actively degrading. The active seeker in the nose is still cold. It won't switch on until the missile reaches the terminal zone, and nobody, not the missile, not the Growler crew, not the B-2, knows exactly when that happens. The target could be anywhere within a 2-mile basket of uncertainty. If the seeker activated and locked a radar return, the Sayyad 4 would close at 3 times the speed of sound. If it found nothing, it would fly until motor burnout and self-destruct. 3 minutes to release, and a missile hunting a ghost in the dark. Red diamond to the south on the mission commander's threat display. The Sayyad 4, still coasting on inertial, seeker cold, still climbing through 30,000 feet. Green timeline bar across the top of his screen counting down to release. 20 seconds. The 2 numbers are converging. Here's the problem the crew can't solve. They don't know when the active seeker switches on. It could be 20 miles out. It could be 15. It could be 10. And when it does, it's going to be scanning X-band, the exact frequency range the B-2 was optimized to defeat. With bomb bay doors closed, the Spirit's radar cross-section was the size of a marble to an X-band seeker. The Growler had preloaded the ALQ-249 and the Sayyad 4's expected seeker frequency, ready to flood it the instant it went active. But until the Seeker transmitted, there was nothing to jam, and no way to confirm the jamming would work when it mattered. The math favored the B-2 by a wide margin. The math changes when the doors open. 12 seconds of exposure. 12 seconds where the Phantom 21 stops being invisible. The Siad-4 was closing from the south with an estimated closest approach in 20 seconds. The bomb bay doors needed to open in 60 to hit the release window. The arithmetic put weapons release and the missile's closest approach within 10 seconds of each other. Not great. Opening those doors is like a guy in witness protection briefly pulling off his disguise in a crowded room. If nobody's looking, you walk away clean. If the person is staring at your face, the disguise was a waste of time, and a Siad-4 Seeker was about to wake up somewhere in their direction. Phantom 21 proceeding, doors in 60. The Growler couldn't do anything yet. The ALQ-249 was preloaded and ready, the Wizzo's finger hovering over the transmit authorization. But jamming an empty frequency is just like broadcasting noise into the void. The Seeker had to go active first. Until it did, the Siad-4 was a ballistic object riding dead reckoning, unjammable, undetectable, and completely unpredictable. If the Seeker switched on while the doors were closed, it would find a marble in a haystack. If it switched on during the 12 seconds the doors were open, it would find a barn door. 40 seconds to release. The pilot took the stick from the autopilot with the calm that comes from 100 simulated repetitions of this exact nightmare. 12 seconds of exposure, 40 seconds from the start of them. If the defense management system screamed missile lock, she needed to brake immediately. Snapping a 150-ton flying wing into a defensive turn at 42,000 feet is not something you hand to autopilot. That's like letting cruise control handle a deer jumping into the road. Some things need a human with hands on the wheel. The mission commander confirmed GPS acquisition on all 16 weapons with 30 seconds to release. 30 seconds. Aim points spread across the Karaj complex, the assembly hall where the missile airframes met guidance packages, the clean room where the Seekers got calibrated, the motor facility where the propellant met rocket casing. Equipment Iran built over decades that you can't replace with a purchase order. Doors open. Rotary launchers spin up and the bay doors swing wide. Every inertial surface creating corner reflectors that bounce radar energy directly back toward any transmitter looking. The marble becomes a barn door. The Siad-4 is 15 miles out and closing at Mach 3.5, deep in the terminal zone. The active Seeker goes hot. What the missile signal processor didn't know, Venom 11 had been sitting on that frequency for 30 seconds. The ALQ-249 catches the emission instantly. The Wizzo hammers the jammer to full power, and the Growler floods the Seeker's X-band frequency with noise before the signal processor can complete its first scan. The Seeker signal processor tries to filter the noise, looking for one consistent return in a spectrum full of garbage, and it finds nothing it can hold. The pilot holds heading, altitude, airspeed, hands locked on the stick, eyes on the instruments, every instinct screaming to brake left and dive while the rational half of her brain holds the line. The mission commander counts the rotary launcher cycling beside him. He can feel each release through the airframe. A shudder as 2,000 pounds drops away and the Spirit jumps. 1, 2, 3. The Siad-4 is 12 miles out. The Seeker is active and drowning in the Growler's noise. But the 12 miles becomes 8 in about 5 seconds at Mach 3.5. 8 miles is where the jamming power drops off with the square of the distance. 8 miles is where the barn door might be bright enough to burn through. The mission commander watches the weapons count tick down on the left display and the Siad-4's range tick down on the right. Both clocks are running. Only one of them is on his side. GBU-31s fall into the Iranian night. 8 weapons drop, then 12. Then all 16 as the rotary launchers cycle through their full payload. 16 2,000-pound JDAMs, each one GPS guided to a circular error under 30 feet. $25,000 per tail kit to turn a dumb iron bomb into a weapon that lands within 2 car lengths of a coordinate anywhere on Earth. Doors closed. The barn door vanished and the marble returned in under a second. The Siad-4 Seeker had been active for less than 10 seconds, and for every one of those seconds, the Growler's jamming had owned the frequency. The Seeker caught a momentary bloom when the doors opened, but the ALQ-249 saturated it before the signal processor could build a track. No consistent return, no track, no lock. The missile coasted on a shot motor for 8 more seconds before the self-destruct charge fired. A flash in the darkness of South Karaj that nobody on the ground would understand until morning. Clean miss. Iran's most patient battery commander traded his battery for a missile that ended up arguing with static. Phantom 21 banked west. 16 JDAMs were seconds from impact on the complex below. The first three hit the eastern assembly hall at terminal velocity. 2,000 pounds punched through the sheet metal roof. These weren't hardened bunkers. They were manufacturing buildings built for production efficiency, with 20-ton overhead cranes running on ceiling rails above the assembly floor. The overpressure gutted the building from the inside out. Those cranes, designed to lower the Shahab 3 airframes onto precision mating fixtures, ripped from their rails and crashed through the alignment jigs below. Think of those jigs like the molds in a factory that stamps out the engine blocks, each one machined to tolerances thinner than a human hair, each one taking Iranian engineers weeks to calibrate. You can't 3D print a replacement. You can't order one from a catalog. They were scrap in half a second. The second wing hit the guidance integration wing, the clean rooms where the missile seekers got their final calibration inside positive pressure environments designed to keep out microscopic dust. 2 direct hits collapsed the pressurized chambers and everything inside them. The docks, where finished missiles rolled onto transporter erector launchers, became impassable rubble. If you enjoyed this video, then watch one of our other videos on the war with Iran. Bye for now.